everyone, hope you're all okay. And anybody else who's watching, I'm back with the Middler. So we're going to go for chapter 3. Robbie Parker knelt down and put his ear close to Lindy's mouth, like she was whispering something he wanted to hear. "She's breathing," said Jed. Trig checked, then he rolled her onto her side. "So she wouldn't choke," said Trig. I squatted on the ground, not too close. Lindy's dress had green stains on it from the grass and red ones from her blood. They'd be a job to get out. "You did well," Robbie said. Was he talking to Trig? Jed? Me? He didn't take his eyes off Lindy. He slid an arm under her shoulder, pushing through her hair. His brother Neil cupped her head in his hands. Then Robbie tucked his other arm under her legs, rocked her towards him and stood up. Lindy hung, pelt-like, between his arms. They carried her back across the cemetery, slowly, steadily, the way you'd walk if you were fetching mugs of milk that had been filled up too high. "What were you lot doing all the way up here, anyway? Not making trouble, I hope?" Lyle Parker took a pair of glasses out of his shirt pocket and put them on. The glass bit, the bit you look through, was dark. "No," we stared. How could he even see? "Showing off your present from the mayor, Lyle," said Griff. "Trying to impress a bunch of school kids. No stopping you, is there?" "Shut up, Griff." Lyle looked at Jed. "You're an eldest, aren't you?" "Yeah," said Jed. "Come on then, walk back with us." They started off after the others. They sang as they walked. "In the northside fields where the daisies grow, I found my love, sweet Evie-O, with her jet-black skin and her jet-black curls, under the shadow of the grey willow." Grey willow, we'd heard it a million times before. The way the Parkers sang it, though, it was like it was a whole new song, like it wasn't just a song, it was real. Maybe it wasn't really the Parkers singing at all. Maybe it was the dead relatives, William Whittington and Georgina Millicent Cruz, and all the other dead Andersons and Cruzes and Stansburys and Parkers, everyone who'd ever died and got buried in Fenniswick Cemetery. They sang it soft and strong and dark and smooth. "She took off her camp with her billy lamp under the shadow of the grey willow." Me and Trig tagged behind them, singing along under our breath. The Parkers carried Lindy into Frog Alley. They disappeared between the houses, heading for Dr. Sanita's. Jed went with them, but me and Trig just sort of stopped at the entrance of the alley. I scanned around for frogs, but there weren't any. A fat black caterpillar curled along the brickwork. I held my finger in front of it, but it wouldn't climb on. It arched its middle, wiggled around, and crawled along in the other direction, slow as you like. Funny how, somewhere inside it, there's the beginning of wings. I prodded it. It fell off into the stinging nettles. I looked back out towards the caravans. Elsie Weather was still there, kneeling down on her sponges in the strawberry beds. It was extra quiet now. We couldn't hear the singing any more. I leaned against the wall. It was scratchy behind me. I pressed the back of my head into the bricks. What would it be like if I cracked it against them really hard? What would it be like if I got knocked unconscious like Lindy? What would it be like if I died? I closed my eyes and held my breath. Would it feel like this? "Do you think Lindy will be all right?" Trig flapped around the alley, all 2 big hands and 2 big feet. "Do you think Dr. Sanita can save her? Do you think Lyle can see out of those funny glasses? He's so lucky the mayor gets him special presents. It didn't look like he can see out of them, did?" He stopped still. His mouth went into a full-blown O shape. "Oh no," he said. "Oh no!" "What? What is it, Trig?" "I left my jumper behind, my grey one, up at the cemetery right near the tree." "Oh, Trig, it's boiling. Why'd you bring your jumper out anyway? It's been boiling for weeks." "Sorry." Trig stuck his hands into his pockets. His head dropped down between his shoulders. "I'll go and get it." Mr. Wetherall's Siamese cat skulked past with a dead frog hanging out of its mouth. "'S all right, Trig," I said. "You go home. I'll get the jumper. I'll be quicker." He chucked his arms round me and squeezed. A proper Trig hug. The jumper wasn't there. I went round the tree. I went round William Whittington and Georgina Melissa. Millicent Cruz. I went round the whole blooming graveyard. Wasn't there. Maybe he'd got mixed up. Maybe he'd left it somewhere else. Typical Trig. Just one last look behind the gravestones again. Hey! What was that? Hey! It wasn't a shout. More of a really loud whisper. Hey! Yes, a loud whisper, like whoever was saying it half wanted to be heard and half didn't. Here! Over here! It was coming from the hawthorn hedge, the boundary. Hedges don't whisper on their own. Hedges don't whisper unless someone's hiding on the other side of them. A head peeped out through the thinnest part of the greenery, a girl's head, with hair the exact same yellow as pound cake mixture right before you bake it. I knew all the kids in our town, been at school with them since I was knee-high. None of us had had hair that colour, and none of us would hide on the wrong side of a town boundary. Not ever. She was a wanderer. My heart paused. My breath stopped. Dirty, dangerous, deceitful. You looking for something? She squeezed through the hedge and stood up, all foal-like on long, skinny legs. She was wearing a raggedy brown dress, a pair of wellies that might have been red once, and Trig's grey jumper. So that's the end of chapter 3. We're moving through this book really well. So far, Trig worked out that he'd left his jumper at the graveyard where Lindy had fallen. In all that panic, he'd left his jumper there. So Maggie said, I'll go back because I'm quicker, and she couldn't find it. And she had one last look around the gravestones, and there was a girl in the bushes. And she was wearing a raggedy brown dress and a pair of old boots, and she'd got Trig's jumper on. And Maggie realised that she was a wanderer.